Hello, today I wanted to talk a little bit more about AI, especially in light of the recent Google I/O announcements and their impact on Google search. The main way that Google is changing search with AI is by adding something called AI Overview, which is essentially the featured snippets that you already had, but this time they're using AI to spin, digest, and basically regurgitate content scraped from websites into supposedly a useful explanation. There are several problems with this. Let's get into them. Problem one is, of course, since this involves AI, it means that the AI overview could hallucinate incorrect information, and then that's what viewers take away from it. While Google will hem and haw and will say that they're doing their best to minimize the impact of these hallucinations on search results, they can't completely remove them because it's AI after all, and it's part and parcel of what it produces. So there's already been some examples in the wild of hilarious hallucinations, and this leads to problem two, which has to do with learned helplessness. They're not sending their best. Let me illustrate this point with something that happened a couple of days ago when I was on a train. It was a long distance, high-speed train journey that I was on. So at the station, I get onto my train car. There's an assigned seat, assigned car. Get to my seat. I'm right on one end of the train car, so there's just the wall behind my seat. It's a typical train car, just two seats, middle aisle to traverse it, and then two seats on the other side, windows, so on, and crucially, overhead racks for luggage. Another person comes onto this now currently empty train car. They move towards their seat. They have a carry-on bag with them that they're rolling behind them, and it looks like they're just gonna get to their seat. They stop at their seat, they look at their carry-on bag, and they started moving back towards my end of the car, which was slightly strange. They stopped where I was sat, and they were trying to store their bag in the gap between my seat and the back wall of the train car. I was utterly baffled by this. We were in an empty train car. This was a young person, and they seemed to be, for some reason, convinced that the only place that they could store their bag was behind my seat, which was highly sus, by the way. Once I got over my confusion and utter bafflement at the situation, I motioned to the completely empty luggage racks that were above all the seats, at which point the person went, A couple of days later, the Google I/O conference, they announced AI overviews as somehow functioning as executive summaries for key searches. And I couldn't help think this fellow traveler who was completely flummoxed by the idea of overhead racks. And I thought, how are they going to use Google search? What decisions are they going to make with these AI-powered features that now Google wants to shove into search? And this connects to the third and final problem: human reasoning and critical thinking skills. With normal search, with traditional search, you put in a search query, short phrase, and then you get a bunch of search results. You'll often click on one of the first 10, which occupy the first page of search results. But in doing so, you have to pick. You have to make a choice. How do you make that choice? You do that by evaluating, by interpreting, by comparing the search results, and then picking the one that you think is the best. Those words, comparing, evaluating, interpreting, those are core aspects of human reasoning and critical thinking. However, with AI, you enter a prompt and then it produces a response. One response. It doesn't give you options. It just gives you one response. And I think we as humans, if we're not presented with a choice, which would require the AI to produce multiple responses, and then for us to evaluate each one, then we're just likely to take whatever we're given as the final result. The issue is that, of course, AI hallucinates, makes mistakes. If we rely on AI, my fear is that our critical thinking skills, our human reasoning skills, will atrophy. Our ability to interpret, evaluate, compare, and so on will be greatly diminished by a tool that is not fit for purpose.